Alrighty, we're back on our stage with our next great guest speaker, Han Jin from Lucid VR, and what they're doing is really interesting, actually. They're building the first consumer 3D VR camera, and he's going to talk to us a bit about that. And he's currently based in California, but he was actually born and raised here in Germany, in Hamburg, and he really is a serial entrepreneur. He's worked on a bunch of startups in California, including a social startup that was actually part of the Y Combinator batch of 2014, and we're really happy to have you here, Han. So take the stage, it's all yours.
Coming out of the valley, it's somehow weird because everyone, you talk to them about what you do, and they're like, you are crazy. I don't understand what you're doing. So, for example, we worked on ever heard about the app Yo? No? Yes, you did. Awesome. Great. Because it sends a message to your friends, and it says Yo. So purely, because it has a different context, and that startup raised $1 million. I know, in the Silicon Valley, seems like we are trying to change the world and make it a better place. And sometimes we run into mistakes and failures. But often we also run into breakthroughs. And virtual reality, I believe, is one of the biggest breakthroughs which we have achieved so far. And I will be talking about that today. My name is Han, and since some of you guys yesterday were here when Mr. Hummels told me I should stay away from investing, I will do that, and I will focus on VR startups only. What we do is building a VR camera for virtual reality which captures the world the same way your human eyes see it. And what I'm going to tell you today is about the industry, about where it came from, and what the future looks like. We will go into some of the investments which have been done in that industry, and we will see what are the struggles, why the adoption is not taking off, and how are we going to solve it. To talk about, first of all, my background. So I was born in China and raised in Germany, so excuse the strange accent, and went to the United States for my studies. For me, I was always far away from family and friends. Being able to share experiences with pictures was one way of being close to them, but realizing how you can capture something immersively in 180-degree 3D, the same way your human eyes see it, and then share it with someone else, and give the person the same experience you have, is different. And that's how we started. My co-founder from Stanford had a PhD in computer vision and image processing, started working on robotics. He worked on remote-controlled robots, where you put on like a VR headset, and you became the robot. Now you can control the robot, and for that robot, it was very interesting and important to have depth and peripheral vision, because it would not run into objects or walls. We decided at some point to really rip off the eyes of the robot to create a smaller device which empowers other people to capture. So we created Lucidcam. Very small, fits into your pocket, and captures everything. I'm not here to sell you this, so let's go into more virtual reality experiences. Virtual reality has been around for a long time. And since there are so many applications from virtual reality in the past, it never really took off. In the last 50 years, we have been trying to ramp up this technology. And as you can see, way cheaper. It's only $100 instead of $700 for an Oculus right now. Who of you has an Oculus or a VR headset? Oh, great. So I'm not the only crazy person. Awesome. So the technology never took off because the resolution and the experience in virtual reality never really gave you what you wanted to see. And now, since a couple of years, and that's how it all started. A guy who was like, I think 16 or 18-year-old, who built an Oculus in his garage and sold it to Oculus for $3 billion, started to ramp up the entire industry. After that, so many other players showed up. That means lots of other headsets showed up. They are still expensive, so you are looking into a range of $500 to $1,000 for one of those devices. But what really interesting is that more and more people are trying to diversify the industry. On HTC Vive, they focused on having double screen displays, which gives you higher resolution per eye. On Oculus, they focused on bringing the price down to gain more consumer adoption. And as you have seen with Google Cardboard, and I hope you have a Google Cardboard, it costs almost nothing except your mobile phone in order to watch virtual reality. The industry over the last couple of years have evolved a lot. And you can see, you can divide it into 3 different areas. One is hardware and distribution, one is content, and one is software and platform. On those industries, you can see players who have more capital, which are in the middle. So they were trying to drive everything around that. The players who have less capital or want to be more focused and vertical, those are the players around them which will drive the industry forward. We are primarily in the hardware space, but also working on the distribution. How to make it accessible for people, not just through VR headsets, but with any mobile phone to see what we do. That's very important to us. And over the last couple of years, there have been a lot of involvement around the content as well. Because now we have tons and tons of displays out there, lots of headsets in the market, but will you buy a headset for $500 if you have nothing to watch on it? And that's what we see where virtual reality is struggling right now. The market is pulling for demand, pulling for content, pulling for games, for videos or movies, whatever it is. And so what we believe is it will push the entire content creation side from what we consider as normal digital cameras towards virtual reality caption, which is more depth and 3D effects. Have you seen what kind of investments have been done so far? Some of those startups raised tons and tons of capital. Some of them magically raised millions and hundreds of millions of dollars. John VR raised $250 million. I don't know if you can still consider that as a startup because they have so many people. But most of the investments in the industry has been focused on verticals. That means on here, what you can see, like Matterport is one of the biggest one, which focus on real estate, purely capturing the entire space and giving you the example of walking through a space, experiencing the real, the building before you purchase the building, or even being able to take it to the next level and do design and interior design with it. So as this industry is ramping up, just this year, there have been $1.1 billion which have been invested into that industry. And it's still not taking off because none of you guys know VR. Okay, so to be honest with you, the problem about virtual reality to take off is based on multiple factors. And I hope one of you will go out of here and create a startup around each of them. Because those are the factors which are hindering the adoption of virtual reality. First of all, everyone thinks virtual reality is only for gamers. I'm not a gamer, so I still do virtual reality. Then headset penetration. How many people have a headset is kind of difficult to estimate. We are projecting 60 million headsets in the market by end of this year. But most of the people outside of the Silicon Valley still don't have a headset. File sizes. In virtual reality, file sizes are very big. You're looking at 5 to 10 gigabytes of data. How are you going to share that with your friends and family? How long does it take you to download it until you can actually watch or work on the content? Then you are looking into disconnected systems. Samsung, Facebook, and Google have their own systems because you have to buy their headset to go into their store to purchase their content. That's a great business model. But how can you diversify? How can you open up the channels so that you can consume more than just what Oculus is offering? The next one is programming, technical skills. So I have a technical background, I have an engineering background, but I'm trying to become you guys. Like I want to be on the business side. You don't need to be technical in order to ramp up a hardware company. You can teach it to yourself. Everyone else on the speakers were saying, you have to learn coding. Yes, to a certain degree you do. You have to understand what they're talking about. But do you need to be very technical? I don't think so. Even though in virtual reality, currently you need to be. And so what we want to focus on is how do you make virtual reality simple for anybody who can just create 3D environments himself. And then infrastructure, of course. Like we talked about the data problem. We talked about the infrastructure right now, which is 4G LTE. 4G LTE doesn't provide so much bandwidth to support the data stream which you're sharing. Now, try to share 5 gigabytes with your friend over a mobile phone. How much data will that consume? How much will it cost you? And how difficult it is for you to do. So you can see all those limitations are holding the industry back. And I hope you guys will find a solution and build a startup around how to solve that. We believe solving this is through user-generated content. Because user-generated content has many, many advantages. One of them is data size. So if you look at your iPhone, how long are the videos or pictures, or how big are the videos and pictures you take? You probably take like 1 minute to 2 minutes. At 2 minutes, you get bored, but normally the file sizes of the content you capture is very small. And so what you are focusing on is you are creating something fun. You are trying to capture a moment. You are trying to share that with friends and family. That's really helpful. Also, user-generated content is focused on self-evangelizing. That means each of you will run to your friend and say, like, check this out, check this out. If you have a virtual reality device, check this out. You will go to your friend, knock on his door until he has seen it. This is very important for us because user-generated content can self-evangelize and distribute and expand the market themselves. So we want to, empower people like you to capture easily, without technical skills, any environment and create virtual reality themselves. That's why we focus on user-generated content through user experience as well as design. We believe that anything which will dominate a user market or consumer market is based on user design and user experience. So for example, Steve Jobs once said, the iPad is basically a bigger form of an iPhone. And that's the easy adoption for a person to actually learn how to adapt to that product. In virtual reality, you have a lot of products which people can't adopt to because it's so technically complex that you don't understand. With our device, what we have is a small camera. It's a point-and-shoot camera, which allows you to just do the same stuff you have done for years with digital cameras. And 180 helps you to scale up. You can go into 360, you can mount it on something, you can use it as augmented reality devices to live stream directly into any device you want to see. What we want to empower is more content from you, on the real estate side, on the entertainment side, on the travel side. But we don't want to define what you're going to create. We want you to define what you're going to create. User-generated content can be more around any innovation you have. Some people come after presentations to me and say, like, I want to create a yoga class in virtual reality. Sure, you can do that. Take our camera, capture yourself in yoga, and you're going to be fine. Some people want to come to me and say, like, oh, I want to create a driving class in virtual reality and put you behind the wheel from a first-person perspective while you're driving, and then teach it to other people. I'm like, sure, you don't need the technology. You take our camera, you put it on a person while he's driving, and then you share it, right? Business models around that can be so easy when you have the technology, you have access to the technology, which is simple for you to use, and then you can build your business model around it. And that's where I believe virtual reality can really take off. And then, of course, you have applications from sports, where you can zoom in and become, like, for example, a quarterback, and you are sharing the experience of the quarterback, and you feel like you are training the person who is seeing it in virtual reality, how to catch, how to throw, how to see the environment itself, how to have the same field of vision like the quarterback. And then, of course, memories, moments, making it able to time travel anywhere you want. Being able to capture memories in the past and go back, that's what I was always dreaming about when I created the company. And then, of course, as you have seen on YouTube many times, there are experiences you can't avoid, and those are the experiences people will just create any day. What we believe, though, is capturing any moment you have in life and being able to share that in virtual reality is something which will drive adoption through the user experience, which gives you the simplicity without technology. And that's why we are building Lucidcam. Thank you. Any questions?
So you're operating in a quite crowded place, like VR is pretty hyped. And I wanted to ask you, what is your tip to be still successful in such a crowded place?
So in terms of crowded space, do you mean like the competition or the entire space itself?
Yeah, like there's a lot of competition. You showed the chart with the investments into VR. So like how to get an investment, how to still stay on top.
Sure. So in a crowded space, I believe it's about loving the product and having a vision around the product. Most people don't have that. If you go into a crowded space, all you have, you want to make some money out of it, it's very, very difficult to sustain over long term. So I think three areas. One is vision, one is team, and one is having really the endurance to execute on the business side and drive the product to market. And in a crowded space, of course, VR is crowded because right now it's buzzed. It's creating people are creating a lot of marketing, PR around it. It's a lot of noise. But at the end of the day, you have to cut through the noise and really understand the market in order to see where you can be positioned. And that's where we want to be.
You were speaking about having the product in the real estate market as well. Could you expand a bit on that? I wasn't really sure what you meant by that.
Sure. I mean, like if you take the camera and you walk through your own house, let's say from a renting perspective, right? I mean, most of the applications right now on the high end, like real estate, you are trying to sell a $5 million house. But if you want to rent it out on Airbnb, you walk through your house, give him a tour, and the tour gives you the immersion of being there. And then you can share that video online on a website. And so people will feel like they're in your house before they actually rent it.
You said you were in the hardware space, obviously, and also in the distribution space. There are already a lot of companies who try to be the next YouTube for virtual reality or Twitch for virtual reality. If you say distribution, are you planning on also being the big platform or a big platform for sharing the videos you capture on your device, or is your strategy more on just being the hardware device to capture it, and whether it's then shared via different streaming websites and so on, that's also fine with you?
No, I would say like from a hardware competition perspective, you will never try to become a platform at the end. It's just very difficult to ramp up the entire platform, the cost of servers, lots of costs involved. What you want to be at is really like empowering the content to be distributed through the platforms. And so being the connection, distribution, what we mean is being the connection between the platforms and our hardware and the content, and being able to make it so simple for you that you share it with one click. That's something we are focusing on.
Hey, I wanted to ask about the connection between your device and, for example, my computer, my mobile phone, the device that I'm using to play the video that I made with your device. Is there any standard format for virtual reality videos at the moment? Like there is for normal videos, like something like MP4 or something. Is there any standard?
Yes, right now the standard for virtual reality videos is actually the same like normal videos. So you can play them back on your mobile phone. You connect it through Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. You transfer the video. You can play it back on a split screen. You slide that into a Google Cardboard. You are able to see in 3D. Or I can also quickly show you. So what you do, you see the video you want to watch. You click on it, and then you have, just a second. So you have a split screen, what you have here. You have a 2D screen, which you can see here, and then it starts moving. So it's very simple. Anybody who has a mobile phone can see it. That's correct. So the technical part is solved on our device, which means we are doing the software, and then after that, all you get out is an MP4 file.
If I'm not mistaken, you're the first one on stage who actually sells a hardware product, which is rarely seen in Germany. And I'm wondering where the difficulties and where the advantages compared to selling a service or software.
That's a great question. If I would recommend someone to do hardware startups, don't do it. It's really hard. Building hardware requires so many different steps. First of all, you have a lot of challenges on the investment side. Like investors normally scare away from hardware. They don't invest in it. you need lots of capital. That means like, $1 million, $2 million will not bring you much. You have to have 10 million, 50 million of dollars, which you have to raise. That means you have to become really good at fundraising. And continuously, it's like every year you have to go back and fundraise and fundraise and fundraise. Being able to drive the very, if I look at German startups very focused on return, like for example, I put in $10, I'm going to get $20 back as a return model. It's very, very difficult to drive from a hardware perspective because the return takes a long time. To build the hardware, it takes like 1 to 2 years. And then to drive into the channels, that means like getting into retail and maybe having it at MediaMarkt takes you another 2 years. So you are calculating already with 4 years. If you don't really believe in a true vision around your hardware, don't do it. Because it's painful. It's really painful. And going through that entire process, like being really like so persistent that you want to make it work is a long way and long route. And that's why, what I learned when I went to Berkeley and learned about the American spirit was it complemented to my education here in Germany, which was have a bigger picture and have a bigger vision, which will drive you towards what you want to achieve, versus go build a startup, make money, get out, and that's the only way I can stay in this game. Great. No more questions. There's another one.
Do you think that in the near future our mobile phones will be equipped with the possibility of such a...
Hi, my name is Sebastian, and to repeat my question is like, do you think in the near future there will be a chance that our mobile phones will be equipped with such technology?
I would love to. So when we first started off, we wanted to build it into mobile phones. That was the first thought we had. But there's a problem about the optics. Some of you have taken physics, law of physics, yes? Yes, there you go. So in physics, you have focal length. The focal length is something where it makes the picture sharp, right? The focal length in optics for those kind of devices are long, which means your phone will become thick. And nobody buys like very thick phones these days. That means you would change the entire design, hardware design of the phone in order to bring that technology into the phone. And so right now we don't see an opportunity, but if the technology evolves over the next couple of years, we believe it can be embedded into mobile phones. Oh, there's another question. Do I have so many time? Go ahead.
Yeah, building up on that one. And things like Project Tango, for example, which are also at least dealing with the 3D part of things, of course not with 180-degree video capturing. Is that something that might be then some sort of competition for you?
So right now, Project Tango is not a competition to us because they are still working in the normal 16:9 frame. The same like this iPhone 7, which has now dual cameras in the back. But the thing is, like, it's not necessarily about capturing the 3D effect, but really in virtual reality giving someone immersion, which for me it's defined by, if I look around, I still can look around, and if I look forward, I still have the depth. That's for me the definition of immersion, and Project Tango and iPhone 7 will never be able to do that. Okay, great. Thank you.
Awesome, that was great. Thank you so much. And we're going to be back here at 5. So you guys have a couple of minutes to get caffeinated and then be back here at 5 if you want to.